Today I have with me author, speaker, podcaster, teacher, mom, and overcomer, Melony Brown. Melony has a passion for igniting a fire in women to empower themselves to become overcomers through faith. Melony has authored 2 books. Her debut release, Challenges Won't Stop Me, and her upcoming release, Keep Moving Forward. Both books are part of her Journey On series, interactive survival guides for overcoming and thriving. Well, both of your books, Challenges Won't Stop Me and Keep Moving Forward, in your Journey On series, they're 2 books that are your interactive survival guide for overcoming and thriving.
Yes.
In Challenges Won't Stop Me, you introduce readers to essential gear, and instead of chapters, you have, and I'll show a little snippet of it here, you have what is called mile markers, which I thought was absolutely fascinating metaphor and so different and so fresh on an intake that it very much engages the reader and wants you to read makes you want to read more. But let's talk about your essential gear that you mentioned to equip and empower your readers to help fight and overcome their challenges. Can you describe some of that essential gear is and why you feel it is essential?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I am a teacher at heart. I can't write without my teacher brain. It just I can't separate the two. And I'll tell you that I can't separate the teacher part of me. If a friend has a kid that's struggling, I'm like, "Oh, maybe you should try blah blah blah." And sometimes that's great and sometimes they're like, "Mel, thanks, but yeah, whatever." Okay. When I actually, excuse me, when God said, okay, it's time for us to work on a book, because I've done overcoming and encouraging people who are struggling throughout my life, not as an official ministry or anything like that. But I remember distinctly, Jeff and I went on a weekend trip. We went to this creative art outdoor festival kind of thing.
Ooh, nice.
He wanted to listen to the banjo players. Ugh. And I was like, yeah, honey, you go do that. I'm gonna go over here and I'm just gonna sit on the ground and I'm just gonna like spend some time with God. And I know it sounds probably more grandiose than it really is, but I'm sitting there and I'm praying and I'm thanking God for nature, because nature is my place. I love nature. And he said, "Okay, it's time." I said, "Time for what?" He said, "We're going to work on that book, because I know that you have learned all of these things, and I know that you like to write. You've worked on some things. And by the way, those things aren't published yet. Probably better that they're not. They may be pulled out of the drawer at one point and polished off so that maybe they get published. But I had been writing before this event ever happened. And so he said, I want you to take readers on a journey. And I want you to introduce them to different aspects that you would use as you were to take a hike. Because we go hiking all the time. Used to do overnight camping, backpacking, but that was when I was much younger. Not anymore.
We had the AT right around there, so.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we spent some time on the AT. So I was like, okay, what exactly are you wanting me to like share? And so I did. I spent a lot of time after I even got home, and I'm like, okay, God, I like this idea because it is so me, but you got to like guide me through this, because I'm game, but I need a little more direction. And so over time and through prayer and just sitting in front of the computer, like, okay, God, just like work through my fingers. This is shift, but work through these fingers and like help me figure out what I'm supposed to share. And it started coming to me that we have things that you take on a hiking trip that are related to our Christian walk. And so I was like, this is really interesting. I like where this is going. And I laid it out. And I realized that if we're going on a journey, we're not going to chapter by chapter. Well, that's fine for a normal book. I'm not trying to diss chapters. I thought, let's just go each mile. And so each chapter in my books are mile markers, as you said. And at each mile marker, I introduce the reader to a new piece of essential gear. And you ask, why are they essential? Well, it's pretty obvious once we talk about it, but we'll come back to it at the end. So at the beginning, you're going to need your backpack because you're going to have to carry some things. And so you can have a literal backpack, or you can use the one that I have in the book, which is a black and white visual image. And when you open my book, you will discover that there are all these black and white visual images throughout. Well, as a teacher, I want to make sure that what I'm sharing, whether it's in the classroom, in a speaking event, or in my book, that you're actually getting something out of it. I mean, you pay good money for it, and also you're spending your precious time reading it. So I want you to benefit from it. I don't want you to just go, well, that was kind of sweet, and, you carry on your day. I want you to actually benefit from it. So the visual images are black and white because I want you to color them. Yes. How did you feel about that directive?
For me, I enjoyed it very much. I love it because it gives you what we call in our house, the power of the pause.
Yes, exactly.
You can stop for just a minute, because I will say, not to get off on a sidebar, while this is one of probably self-help is not the best term. I really don't even like that category. Guides. This is one of the best guides I have ever read for it's deep stuff. I'm actually going to say it. It's deep from a therapist point of view. You're going to be asked to hold up this mirror and look at yourself. And that's not, none of us like to do, because especially if we're struggling with something, we don't want to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, but they're all there and they're all grist for the mill. And it's all part of us. And we need to learn to hold up that mirror, see that about us, really introspect, and learn to love ourselves just as we are as we grow. You pull no punches, but you tell us that up front, and you tell us with unconditional love and grace that God gives us all freely, that you're encouraging us to give it to ourselves. So in doing that, I was thankful for the moments where I could stop and color and go, that was heavy stuff, Melony. All right, I need a breather. So you give us places to stop and rest. And in fact, you even, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you even get at the end of it, before you get us on to the next book, you talk about the importance, if they can see this, the importance of rest. You have to take those breaks. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Take your time with it.
I love the feedback, because it is intended to give you the opportunity to pause. But as a teacher, I know that coloring and connecting a concept with a visual image. So if you're doing both, if you're connecting a visual image with a concept and then you're coloring it, and I say this to my kids all the time, my students, I want it sticky in your brain. I don't want it to just
it does
go like that. I want anytime that you come across a rope, which is the first piece of essential gear, I want you to go, yep, I know what that means. And then the same thing for the other pieces. And so at each mile marker, I introduce you to the essential gear. We have a rope, which there are three purposes for a rope. Is dragging, which, okay, I thought this was supposed to help me. Dragging is not helping. Well, but if you've been in a challenge, you might have experience being drugged, whether literally or, you can visualize that you've been drugged through something that you did not want to be part of. The next one is opposition and resistance. Again, why are you choosing this as an essential piece of gear? Because that's still not helpful. The third reason, the third purpose is, the whole point is that God lifts us. A rope is used to lift. Now, clearly, after hearing my story, you know that God didn't lift me right out of mine. He can. And I know some people that he has. And I'm like, whoa, I'm a little jealous, but.
That's normal.
Right. But the whole idea is that he lifts us to himself when we're going through challenges. Does that fix it? No. But if we're going to be any place at all, I want him to lift me to him, because I know that if I'm close to him like that, I know he's taking care of me. Think about when you had your son when he was little guy, and you would put him right here. You lifted him to you. He felt that. He felt your love. He felt that you were going to protect him. Same thing with our Father. I mean, you can't get any better than that. So then we go to the next mile and we learn about the tent. You can choose to be running to the tent where the world goes, I'll protect you. I'll keep you safe. Come to my tent. No, thank you. Flimsy. No, thank you.
Until the narrative changes.
Exactly. Let's flip that. But if we go to God's tent, we are going to truly experience safety and protection and refuge and rest. So that's where we want to go when we're going through challenges. Now, let me be clear. We also want to go there anytime. Like, I go there every morning. Hey, God, let me in. I need to come in the tent. And then so when I go in the tent, I'm bringing my next piece of essential gear, which is our map. And Kimberly, you just held it up.
Yes.
Is our Bible. Yes. And if we are going through a challenge on this journey, so think about you being in your car or you going on a hike. You're going on a journey, and you need to navigate, because while there are trail signs most places, somebody might have knocked them off, or you missed it. Because on the Appalachian Trail, a lot of times it's just on the trees. And if the trees have a bunch of leaves on it, that might have gotten covered, and so you took the wrong way. Just recently, my husband and I were on a short little weekend vacation, and we found a trail to go on. And I don't know who fell down on their job, but there weren't very many trail signs. And so we took a wrong turn. And I'm standing there because of my whole journey and trail signs. And I look at my husband, Jeff, and I was like, we took an unexpected turn. Then I started busting out laughing because I'm like, this is a little too close to home. I mean, in all seriousness. And I said, okay, God, where did we miss it? Because now we got to backtrack and we got to figure it out. And so this is part of what I took away from that day. Make sure you have a good map. Because God puts trail markers in our lives all the time. We need to be watching them. And if we don't happen to see them, if we're tuned in to his map, his word, he's guiding and directing us. He is the master navigator. I mean, he created the world. He knows the route we are supposed to take. So we continue on our journey, and I introduce you to a flashlight, which, I mean, it's not too clever, but it dispels the darkness. And some people have lived in darkness. One of the ladies that I use as an example in that chapter is my friend Diane, and she has bipolar, and she has experienced true darkness of depression. And what does she do? She gets out her map, and she uses her flashlight, which is Jesus is the light, and that helps her navigate out of that time. Does it happen overnight as soon as she opens up her Bible and as soon as she turns on her flashlight? Not usually, but she's consistently using it, and over time, just like me being in those migraines and God talking to me, maybe she needs to God needs her to be in there for a little bit longer so he can talk to her and teach her during that time. Now, probably my favorite piece of essential gear is the binoculars. You have any thoughts about why?
I do, but I'm going to let you go ahead and share.
Okay.
I do, but I'm going to let you go ahead
like
and share.
binoculars.
You're on a roll, so.
All of us, and me included, we get so focused right here on our challenge, our struggle, our disaster, our we don't know what to do. We get like, I don't know what to do. And you tell your friend and you tell your dog, like, we get so focused on that. All it's doing is causing anxiety and stress and worry. And honestly, if I can be blunt, is we're not trusting God in that moment.
We're not.
Because we're just like, I don't know what to do. And he's going, I got it. I got it. But you're like so focused on this. How about you pull out your binoculars and you focus on me? Because I'm the one that can fix this. I'm the one that will get you through this. I'm the one that will teach you why this rudely intersected your path. And so when we focus on God in praise and worship, and I'll be honest with you, when you're going through a hard time, it's hard to go, God, I love you. God, I trust you. You are amazing.
Yes, it is.
It is so hard. But let me tell you something. That's when it's the most powerful, because it's hard. And God knows it's hard. But when we praise him and we look up to him and we take our focus literally away from the challenges and we focus on him, does it change our circumstances? Sometimes. Not always. Most of the time it doesn't. Not immediately anyway.
Right.
But what it does do is it changes our perspective. All of a sudden we're like,
yes.
Oh yeah, you are amazing. You are Jehovah Rapha. And I believe that you can heal me. And I believe it will happen at some point. And even for me, with my health issue, I have experienced healing to a degree. I haven't experienced full healing. I don't think that I will until I see Jesus face to face. And there have been times where I've struggled with it. I'm like, okay, can I have like 2 days? I mean, just like 2 days where I don't have to focus on this. And it's not like it's significantly impacting my life, but every time I sit down to type and I have to do this and then this, it's like it makes me aware of it. And I realize, or my neighbor will go, wow, are you okay? You're kind of wobbling when you walk. Yeah, that's just the way I walk. It's something happens all the time. And I'm like, okay, God, just 2 days, just two would be great. And I would just be okay. But what it does is it changes our perspective. We realize we know God and we know the creator of the universe. We know the God who can change things in a moment. We know the God who works in us and changes us from glory to glory. And that's a big part of what challenges are for. Is that's the means by which we are changed. We don't just change on our own. We don't just gain wisdom just by going through an easy day. We gain what we need, the skills we need, the abilities that we need, the wisdom that we need for this life, but also as part of book 2, the Keep Moving Forward, I learned in my research that all these things are really preparing us for our eternal home. And that's the point. That's the point.